I'm Alan Trushkov. Join us today and enter our world of a cobbler to see the craftsmanship it takes to rebuild and restore footwear and other leather goods, as well as recommendations from our industry.
Hey everyone, this is Alan over at Cobblers Plus in Denver, and today we've got two pairs of Allen Edmonds Carlyles. I really like the Carlyles. I love the plain toe. I'm not too crazy about cap toes like, say, the Park Avenues or anything like that. I do have a pair, but I really like the plain toe personally myself. But today we're going to be putting on some JR soles on the two pairs here. Now, the really sad part. You can see how badly worn these are, so we're gonna have to be replacing the heel bases, at least on these ones here. Now the black ones, they're not quite as bad. I mean, the heel bases are still intact, but they do have a fairly good sized hole there in the middle, so gotta make sure at least these ones were caught in time. The other thing is they do have significant amount of damage to the uppers, to water damage, so we're going to be spraying them down with some vinegar-based desalter to help deactivate any salts in there and kind of work that leather a little bit. I already took out the laces and the shoe trees. Luckily the gentleman does have some shoe trees for these, so we'll make sure to put some in as well during the process with the desalter. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start breaking these all down and everything. These heel bases here are basically done for. I'm just going to keep them for marking. I'll fast forward majority of the breakdown and everything because it's two pair, and as some of you who have seen some of my previous videos, I do tend to talk a little too much, so I'm going to try to do more of just fast forward of a lot of things. So let's go ahead and get started on the breaking down process of everything. All right, so we've got the first one apart. You can see we've got all that cork, well, almost all the cork out. These areas here where the cork is left behind, I'm gonna have to go through with the sander first. You know, sand out all the old cork. We always make sure to replace the old cork, because it's natural, it tends to absorb sweat and moisture after a little while, and so it's better to replace it. You don't want all that old salt build up from your sweaty feet, or from the chemicals that they pour outside if you live in an area where it snows and they have to put a chemical out on the road to prevent it from freezing. And that also gives us the opportunity to check to make sure that the shank is intact. Luckily this first one, the shank is completely good, nothing wrong with it, and this was the worst one of the two pairs basically. And so at this point I'm just going to set this one aside and start concentrating on this other shoe here. Now I haven't checked the welt yet because of course we're going to check through that later on in the process, but for now I gotta take this other one apart. I'm gonna go ahead and do all that off camera. I'll also end up taking these to trace it out so that we can get the sole as centered as possible, because JR logo, of course, we want to make sure that's centered there. So we'll get that all taken care of, and then once it's time to go ahead and put everything together, I'm not going to waste your time with all the sanding and the cork filling and everything on that. I'll just kind of show you guys once I'm done with the different steps and everything, what it's looking like and all that. So we'll see you back here in just a little while then. Alright, so I've got the bottom kind of sanded out quite a bit now. I've got a few more spots of cork I got to clean out, but at this point I'm going to go ahead and pull the stitches. We're over here at our shine machine that has an attachment for a stitch puller on it, and I didn't want to let you guys miss that. It's one of my favorite parts. I don't know what it is, but it's really enjoyable just to see those little pieces of thread just flying out, and it's very important always for us to make sure we pull the old stitches. Did of course also check the shank on these, and they're perfectly fine too. Now I don't like taking the shanks out on these because they can potentially break, so unless they're broken and they're glued in place and not budging, we're not going to remove them unless we have to remove it to replace it or some other reason. But we're going to go ahead and leave that in. During this process, this allows us also to make sure and see if there's any damage on the welt itself, so that we can end up stitching it after we pull all the old stitches. But let's go ahead and get started on pulling the stitches and get going. So we've got the stitches all pulled out. Don't know if you could really see that, maybe some of the light shining through possibly. It's hard to get that angle and everything, but they're mostly all pulled out. There might be a few stragglers here and there, but we're going to go through and make sure we pull all the little stragglers out of there and make sure they're all gone. The welt seems to be fine, but I'm going to go through anyways and double check, and if I end up having to repair, I'll be sure to make sure to let you guys see that. But I'm going to go through and touch up the rest of the cork area here and then start putting the new one in there afterwards. So we'll see you back in a little bit then. Alright, so we've got new cork in there. And yes, we do use pre-cuts like these guys here. Usually, cork is cork usually. A lot of people know about Allen Edmonds and their hot cork method. There is a bit of an issue we've been coming across, and there are a few gentlemen on the Allen Edmonds enthusiast page on Facebook that have also mentioned it too, saying their shoes aren't feeling comfortable. One of the big issues that we've come across is that with some of the Allen Edmonds, when they start using that hot cork, one of the employees, and it varies from each person basically, I guess you can say, but somebody might put a little bit too much cork in here and they really try to shove it in there every nook and cranny. And I mean, cork should have little minor air pockets. I mean, because it's basically your shock absorption. It's what gives you your support features and everything. It's going to break in around your foot and make that shoe a little more customized to your foot basically. And when you force too much cork in there, unfortunately you're taking away a lot of those air pockets that really take a lot of the absorption and breathability too. Cork is very much important for shoes, not only for those support features, but to fill in that cavity right here where the welt basically is, because it's divoted. There's like a 90-degree angle drop, and you would definitely feel that little edge there if you had no cork. So it works as a filler, but also as a support feature. Slightly, it can vary from shoe to shoe basically, just because cork, again, it's natural, just like leather. There's going to be certain differences. One spot of leather may be slightly, thinner or softer on a certain part of a shoe, more so than another one. Natural products, they are going to have minor, I guess you can say, differences, in other words. But when you take hot cork, for example, I mean, a lot of the times with that hot cork, I mean, it's great. It makes it easier for mass production, that's for sure. But one of those issues is that we've seen it gets forced into the shoe sometimes, not placed in there and nicely ironed out and everything. But again, that's, I would say, maybe once out of every 20 pairs roughly, which isn't bad, definitely. I mean, there are shoe manufacturers out there that get issues with their shoes somehow once every 3 or 4 pairs I've come across, which is a lot, like way more than should be. But Allen Edmonds has been doing good, and so that's just one of those things. If you ever wonder why you have, say, 5 pairs of Allen Edmonds, they all fit great, and then all of a sudden you get yourself a 6th pair, say it's a pair of Park Avenues or 5th Avenues or something, it could end up feeling a little different, because of course they're using natural products in there, and depending on who's worked on it, they can do it differently. One person might have accidentally put too much cork in there and pressed it down too hard. Another person may have not put enough in there, and so that's another reason why we like these predetermined already. They're pressed by machines, in other words, and rolled, so that density of the cork is fairly consistent usually. It still may have minor imperfections, if you want to call it, or whatever it may be, but that's the way it goes. If we used man-made products, say like the foam, there are some brands that use foam material. That foam is a little more durable, but again, it is foam. One, it's not going to keep your shape properly. The other thing is, once it gives out, it really gives out. I mean, it really gives out badly. At least with cork, it slowly starts to give out over time. The other thing is also, it's man-made synthetic materials, it's not breathable. Cork should give you some breathability. I mean, I know you're going to have the sole there on the bottom. Even if you have a rubber shoe, there should still be at least a little buffer between that rubber sole and your foot, and that cork and the inner midsole is basically what it is, and you get that extra little bit of breathability because of it, plus the insulation aspect of it too. Again, like I said, I talk a little too much, but anyways, so the cork is all filled in on these guys. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and set them aside because it is the end of the day here. It's a little after hours. I've actually got to run home now. I worked really late last night already as is, so for tonight I got to make sure I don't stay here too late again. But I'll continue working on these tomorrow. I'm going to glue up the soles tomorrow on them and continue with the whole process of the repair on these, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So we'll see you later. Alright, I'm back here again now. I've got everything glued up. I'm just sticking the soles on at this point, nothing too crazy. I didn't trace these out because they're actually very close to the size as is. I mean, if they were about maybe 2 millimeters shorter, they would be too short at this point. But I just pulled this out of the oven, so it's nice and pliable. Stick another sole back into the oven. And I'm just basically center it up here. Alright, just adjust that angle for you guys. Alright, moved around on me. Yeah, we can see it's very close there to that edge. But there's a few reasons why we use an oven. Sorry, I gotta hammer a little. But there's a few reasons why we use an oven to heat up our soles. One, it helps activate the rubber cement, well, contact rubber cement that we use to get the soles to stick a little bit better. The other thing is it makes the sole a little bit more pliable and easier to work with, because JR soles are very dense. There's two options for us to be able to work with it. One, we either have to spray it down, at least to get it somewhat damp to make it a little more pliable, or two, we have to heat it up. I spoke to a fellow cobbler. He says he doesn't like using JR soles because they always crack on him. And I talked to him for a little while, and it seems like whatever he's doing, whether he's heating it up or spraying it, he has bad luck with it. I'm sorry to hear that. I've had some bad luck with it in the past, but it's mainly because I forgot that I didn't spray it down, and I was running some nails in, and I had to hammer really hard on a pair of Western boots, and it cracked the finish a little bit. So I was like, shoot. But luckily, I was redoing that finish anyways. The leather itself wasn't cracked. It's just the top finish, because these do have a oak bark tan finish on it as well. So, you know, it can crack. But anyways, at this point, I'm just going to take it over to our press everything out, and then do the welt press and set them aside to cure. It's been a hectic couple of weeks for me. I've been doing workload for my father's shop as well. So at this point, I have to really try to hurry because this gentleman needs to pick these up. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on the heel bases for the other ones as well. And we just take sheets of leather like this. So the first batch I'm going to do, these ones are pre-marked for another set of heels actually that I'm working on. But we're going to trace out a section like that basically, and then cut them out and stick two pieces together. And then that will go over top of the first piece that we're going to be putting directly onto the shoe, so that it gets that curvature just right, you know, and we're going to make sure that the height is all the same. Now, with Allen Edmonds, of course, they have one side that's a little bit thicker than the other. That's why when we do heel bases, we like to use leather. We don't like to use the composite heel bases like they have for replacements. They just don't hold up as well. So if you go through us, for example, for new heel bases on Allen Edmonds, it's a huge upgrade, because we'll actually use stack leather, and we'll start out by stacking it, the first leather layer, directly to the shoe, so that it gets that perfect curvature and forms around it, sand it out so it's flush, and then put on the double layer piece that we have already over top of that, and then just build it up and level it until it's the same height, size, and shape and everything to what it's supposed to be. But let me I got the other shoe on the press right now, but anyways, I'll go ahead and do that, at least get it started off camera with the double layer. But I got to get that going quick so that this can all cure overnight, so that when I come back in tomorrow, I can continue working on it. But I got to at least do this portion of it with the sole being on here. So let me finish these guys out, and then leave them to cure and start working on that double layer piece, and we'll see you back here tomorrow then. Before I finish everything out for today, at least, I did forget to mention I have been going back and forth with these as far as like taking care of the upper, because they do have some fairly decent salt and water damage on them. You can probably see some of that right there, possibly. Yeah, it looks like the camera's getting it pretty all right. But having to treat it back and forth, I just been taking this mixture that I have of vinegar and desalter mixture, and just spraying it all down like this, back and forth and back and forth. So, because they are in rough shape, just take my nylon brush and just kind of work at it, because we're gonna have to give these a full upper treatment anyways. Wiping it off, and I just have to keep doing that over and over. I mean, it's gonna take a while, but during the repair process, at least I'm able to do this. And then finally, when we get to the end, we'll be able to go through and clean it up, and hopefully a lot of that desalting agent vinegar will help remove a lot of that damage there. I did, of course, clean it up beforehand with some acetone as far as removing the upper waxes and polishes that have been built up there for quite a while. So gotta definitely work on them. But I wanted to show you guys that before I left today, because I'm gonna really have to put some effort into that. And unfortunately, these have been mistreated so much that I don't even know if I'll be able to get a lot of that out there, and I don't want to use anything too harsh or too strong on it anyways. Acetone's the strongest, and that was just to remove those surface waxes and polishes, and now we're using the gentler vinegar and desalter mixture here, and I have to do it on both shoes, both pairs basically. But anyways, just going to show you guys that real quick and then finish up what I'm doing here. Oh, and on top of that, in the meantime, I've been removing these nails here too. You guys probably saw me not take them out right away, but got them out of this one and trying to do it in between. Like I said, it's been kind of hectic and busy here for me and just all over the place. So I'm gonna just continue on, and we'll see you back here in a little while then. All right, so we're back here again. Got these sprayed down again with some of that desalter. I've been working at it back and forth multiple times, but at this point it's time to go ahead and start trimming up these soles. I've got some of the heel base chunks here cut out. This is the first thinner layer that we're going to be putting on, and then the thicker layer I have over there, it's already cured and ready to go, so I'll show you guys that a little bit later. But for now, we got to get these prepped for stitching. So we got to trim out those edges and then cut out the channeling all around here. So we've got our trimmer here, and then our groover here. Sorry, it's been a really rough couple of weeks here, but let's go ahead and get started on this then. so I got the first one taken care of. As you can tell, it does take a little while because this sole is very, very hard, dense, and durable. So definitely gotta take a little extra time on it. You saw me, I accidentally forgot to sand out the bottom first on the first shoe up here, and channeled it and then sanded it. I forgot I had to mark up where the heels are for this pair. We're building new ones anyways, so had to use this one as a guide here anyways. But that one's all ready. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one off camera. Afterwards I'm gonna get in here with the tool and kind of clean it out real quick, and I'll let you guys see that part. I guess it's just light cleaning, but might be interesting for some of you. So after I get this other one finished up and ready for stitching the black pair, I'll see you back in just a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys real quick about cleaning out the welt. The channel stitching. Sorry, it's already an off day for me. It's morning, but I did forget to spray down this one, so I kind of just made it harder on myself. It doesn't do anything to the sole or any of that, but this one I ended up spraying down. Makes it a little bit easier during the channeling process, but I was in a bit of a rush and just spaced out on it, in other words. So I ended up not spraying these down beforehand, so I'm going to go ahead and clean out the channeling now on this one here. So for cleaning out the channeling, we're just going to use our awl here and kind of go through, and if there's any little chunks or anything, it helps get it out of the way. Just like that. Nylon brush. Okay. And then a little bit of compressed air. Looking good. Grab this one here. Now, because I sprayed these ones down, there's a little bit more dust and debris that gets into this one, because during the process when it's wet, everything likes to stick a little bit more. And it's usually what it's like here. Voila. Alright, so I'll go ahead and finish out the other ones, and then we're going to go ahead and get to our stitch room and start stitching these up. The shoe trees, I have been putting in the shoes, taking them out back and forth and all that. I did also sand out, of course, the heel bases and everything. I did notice, even though these are the same exact style, let's see, and the same exact size, 13Ds on both of them, the heel bases off of these will not fit these here. So these ones came off the black ones. They're the ones that are still intact and everything. They just need to be glued up here in a few spots. But the ones off the brown ones, those were shot and worn out, and they're the ones that we're going to be building new ones for. And those heel bases were a little bit wider, actually, so kind of interesting. But I still use these to at least mark it down as far as the length goes. As far as the length goes, but it doesn't line up perfectly on it. So that's just the way it goes, I guess. And you'll probably see the kiddo running around in the back. Wife came in with the kid, so it's Vlad. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and continue and see you in the stitch room. All right, so we're over here in our stitch room now, and this is what's called our outsole stitcher. It's designed to stitch the outer edge here of the Goodyear welt there to the sole. Now the stitchers, of course, they end up doing everything upside down. So color wise, we have black on both of them, so it makes no difference. But if we were to pick a color, we'd have one color at the bottom right here, which is the bottom thread. This is what would end up showing at the top afterwards. But since we're doing black with black on both shoes, that's what we pulled out, and we're going to keep it original like that. That's what we're going to go ahead and do. If you want to be a little more creative, you could always pick different colors. We got red, blue, brown. I've got green and yellow, I believe, on order as well. and purple too, if you want to do just colored thread on the bottom and leave it original on the top, or if you want red on top, blue on bottom, whatever works for you, you could always let us know and we could do that. We try to keep that in the family of the JR soles mostly, because those ones we tend to channel stitch a little bit more often and makes it more visible. With a closed channel stitch, it's not so visible when you got a colored stitch on the bottom. And some of the house grade leathers, we just leave it as is without actually pre-channeling it. We allow it to do an open channel stitch. Sorry, again, I got the kiddo here today with us, so almost forgot. Gotta make sure to spray everything down. Water helps lubricate it. Alright, go ahead and get started. On this first option, you guys like forces. Give it a first layer and to change the look shape. Oh, I was hoping to show you guys, but it's stuck. Sorry, got interrupted there, but not looking too shabby. It's a little hard to see in there, but got it in all the same holes. Kind of sucks though, like up here on the toe, the holes didn't quite make it in all the way, just because, well, the welt there was very worn out on that toe area heavily, which sucks. I mean, you can see right there, there's no additional holes at all whatsoever. It made it into all the original ones, but that's just the way it was, and it's so close to the edge. It drives me nuts, but kind of stuff happens a lot. So, you know, from the factory, we get some of those shoes in sometimes that have the welt cut a little bit too close. Sometimes it gets worn out, but you know, the shoe's still wearable and in good shape and everything, so we just have to be very careful and hopefully not slide off that welt, otherwise it just turns into a nightmare for us. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna actually readjust the camera angle for you guys to see what the machine looks like from the other side. This will be the first time actually I'll do that. I got a new attachment for my camera, so let's go ahead and readjust everything. How's this angle there? Let you guys see. So when I'm talking about everything, so this is the top thread for us, at least. It actually ends up being the bottom thread that goes down here, and this goes at the bobbin right there. And then this mechanism area here with all the wheels and stuff, this is actually where the bottom thread for us is, which is the one that's going to show up top. But I thought I'd show you guys that real quick. Sorry, I keep saying it's been a rough couple of weeks. Got my old man's workload coming in from his shop. He's got his own shop. We're not quite affiliated, but he's out of the country right now, traveling, having fun. And I'm stuck with my workload and his workload. And I gotta get these finished out today. This gentleman's traveling as well, so I gotta make sure they're ready by the end of today, completely, for him to be able to take on his trip. Okay. A lot of moving parts, right? On. Eye protection is very important on this thing because there is an awl and a needle on here, and sometimes if you bend it just wrong or it's starting to get dull or anything,
the needle all can snap and shoot off who knows where. And I've had it almost hit my eye a few times, so I started wearing eye protection. I'm like, I'm not getting a needle stuck in my eye. That is not going to be fun. Yep, that one's a little bit better there. Don't know if it's showing. Especially even around the toe area. That toe didn't seem as worn out, considering this shoe was a lot more worn out than the black pair. But, yep. Alright, so I'll go ahead and finish out the other two shoes real quick, and then we'll meet you back in the other room for our next steps. Actually, I'm trying to think. Oh, our next step isn't really crazy or anything, but I'm gonna end up pressing out this welt area here, kind of clean, or not welt, the stitch area here, cleaning it up a little bit more, and then afterwards gluing up the heel area here to get that heel base started up. Now I'm not going to be sanding it out right now for any kind of finish, or what am I thinking? Yes, I am. I'm gonna sand it out, so I'll actually show you guys the sanding. That's the next step. I told you, it's been a long couple of weeks. All right, let's continue. All right, so I've sanded up a little bit of the sole, just a little bit. It's some of those spots that you really have to work on a lot usually, so in order to make it a little bit faster, I hit it on the numb keg. You guys will see that a little bit later, what that numb keg looks like and everything. Ran our little logo in there as well at the bottom. And now I'm going to go ahead and take our palm sander and start sanding out the rest. The palm sander makes it a little more even sanding and nicer, but it does get extremely dusty, so I'm going to have to put on my face mask here. Got my goggles on already. All right, let's get going. There's the first one there. It's still a little damp, that's why you can see that. Sorry, I got my mask on. But I'm gonna do just one pair for you at least. Sorry, had to get that off. Alright, but it did look a little discolored in some areas because it's still a little damp. I did have to spray down the sole to do the little logo imprint of ours here. And of course, around the JR logo, we have to be very careful always so we don't get that gold. I mean, the gold's not going to last long, even the finish. It's going to wear out after the first one or two wears, basically. Depends how long you wear it. But, you know, it's something we like. We like that little bit of gold there, at least when it goes out the door. You know, I'm sure if you have us resole a pair, you'd probably want that little bit of gold. Every now and then, unfortunately, it can get a little nicked
and it can happen, but we try our best to make sure to keep that intact as much as possible without sanding it out. So it's just a nice little feature to have on the bottom of a brand new set of soles. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and sand out the next pair here. I'm not going to waste your time too much with that, but once it's time to put that bottom finish on, I'll see you back here then. All right, so we'll see you in a few. So I got everything sanded out. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our Urad here. This is the light brown, and we're going to go ahead and do the brown shoes with the bottom. Now Urad, it's great stuff. It's considered to be self-shine, basically. So in other words, this stuff was originally intended to do like a full shine, basically. But I do not recommend it on uppers of shoes because it's got a little bit of a higher concentration of carnauba wax in there. And so when you put it on your shoes, these areas that bend where you get the creases there, it will crack. Now, granted, I mean, shoes that you shine with any kind of waxes are going to have wax obviously on it, but these, unfortunately, I don't recommend because one, you can't get quite as even of a coat on the surface area to make it look nice, and the second thing is because it's a higher concentration of carnauba wax, you have that issue a little bit. But for a bottom stain, some of you cobblers that may be watching, stuff is awesome. God, man, it looks pretty good. Just gotta hang them up to dry out of the way. Now, if we were to use a colored stitch thread, for example, we would actually do the whole bottom staining first on these, but because we're just using black, doing it after we stitch it is perfectly fine. I mean, because it's black stitching, it's not going to get colored or anything like that. So that's why we do it this way. But if it was a colored stitch and we were putting a finish on it of some sort, the stitches would get colored and it just wouldn't look right. So all day it's been like this. Alright, I'll be right back then. I'll let these dry anyways for... Sorry, all day it's been just chaotic for me, but doesn't look too bad. It's still drying up a little bit too, so I gotta buff it once it's all dry, and then I'm gonna sand this area up a little bit more, and then start putting the heel bases on, well, building up the heel bases on the lighter ones, and then putting on the heel bases onto the black pair. I'm not gonna really waste your time too much with that part of it because it's just gluing those on, but I'll show you guys the nailing side of it at least for you anyways. So I'll just keep going and I'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right, so we've got the heel bases glued on. Now we're gonna go ahead and nail them in. This is of course the one that didn't have the damaged heel base, but the other ones I'm still working on building up that heel base with the leather. And we're just gonna put new nails into the same exact holes. We're just gonna put gripper nails in just like they had before into the same holes because we did take out the old nails, of course, so no need making new ones. Just a little bit more for you guys. These nails are 5/8 of an inch thick, or long, sorry, but that's the perfect height for these because these are nailed usually on the outside, where a lot of other shoe brands they nail them in from the inside there. With Allen Edmonds, they're nailed on the outside just because of the way that they're structured originally. Alright, there we go. Now Now the heel bases, of course, the glue is going to hold it on very well, but the nails are a good extra way of securing it on there just in case if it ever gets caught on something and tries getting yanked off. With enough force, I mean, of course, anything can come apart, but this is just a little bit of extra for it. So we'll go ahead and do the other one. Like I said, I'll still build up the other heel base, and then once that one's ready to be nailed and everything, I'll see you back here in just a little bit then. All right, so I've got the leather heel bases on here stacked up and everything. Now we didn't put any kind of rubber buffer because these are solid stacked leather heels. They're not the composite that you see usually on Allen Edmonds where they have to add that little black strip in there as a buffer basically. That's in there for shock absorption because the composite material they use is very, very hard. It has no absorption whatsoever. And the other thing is also because that composite doesn't glue very well actually. That's why the nails go through the rubber and everything as well, and so the top lift sticks a lot better to this rubber piece here. But when we got a solid rubber heel block like this, we just glue straight to it because it's going to hold up a lot better. You can glue to it. I mean, when we glue to the leather, it holds up a lot longer. But we start out by running it all through. And let's see, so it's 7 nails usually that we put in. And that's what Allen Edmonds does anyways too, is 7 on these. Come on. The leather really likes to grip. Okay. 1, 2, and so on. There we go. So I've got the new nails on there. Now we do have a heel wheel basically that can run nails in, but it's designed to run the nails in from the inside. So we got to put them in on the outside by hand. Either way, even if I did have a heel wheel that can run the nails in from the outside like that, I probably still wouldn't be using them anyways, just to make sure I get it all lined up nicely in the spots that really need it most, you know, so it holds up longer. Because with some of the Allen Edmonds, I've noticed sometimes these nails are a little too far back or something, so this outer edge can end up popping up a little more quickly. I mean, because these are nailed in from the top, eventually heel bases can start to pull up a little bit right here, and you know, the nails prevent it from going up any further, but just putting it a little bit closer down will definitely help extend that life expectancy without it actually coming up. During rehealing or during resoling, either way, we end up taking off the heel base and re-gluing it. But if we're just doing heels, if I see that ever, we always make sure to put a little bit of glue in there beforehand and make sure to get that all fixed back up. And if any nails are missing, which I have come across that a few times, that a nail may be missing, maybe 2 or something. And one time I actually came across a heel base where it had no nails, so I guess they missed it, unfortunately. But I guess it happens when you got a lot of shoes going out. Anyways, I'm just going to glue these up. I've got the top lift heels right here. We like to use the GTO ones. We can use Vibram or any other types of heels. We could use the JR ones as well. They requested rubber heels on there, and we definitely prefer to use the GTO. They just seem to grip a little bit better with minimal tread pattern, as well as they are very durable too, and they don't look as bad. Some of the new Vibram ones I've been seeing, they look a little hefty, I guess you can say, too heavy of a looking tread, and the material is the same as what it's been for quite some time. So, you know, it's not my favorite. But the GTO, we've tested them out countless times. They seem to be very durable and grip very well. We can also use the original Allen Edmonds heels too, with that little V-bar, which I can't remember where I put mine at right now, because we use them so rarely. Not everyone wants them anyways, so we'll just be using the GTO ones anyways. But anyways, I'll be back here in just a little bit. Once we get the heel stuck, I'll go ahead and do the rough trimming around the edges there to get that top lift heel flush, and then when we're doing the final sanding and everything, I'll meet you back here then. Alright, so I kind of had to hurry up and finish all these out off camera, unfortunately. Sorry I couldn't get all that recorded for you, but gives you the idea there. And of course we did try to take care of that salt, but man, that stuff was bad on there. And like I said, I had to hurry up and finish this all off camera. As you can tell, I'm going crazy right now because the lady's actually here to pick these up right now. So I'm gonna go take these on over to her, and I'll just wrap up this video without the shoes in the background. But that kind of gives you the idea on those. So yep, we'll just see you guys here in a little bit to wrap things up. I'll talk about what I used on the uppers and everything, but she's got to grab them to take them back to her boyfriend, I believe it was, because he's leaving out of town. So we'll see you back in just a few. Sorry about not finishing out the video quickly enough. I actually got extremely backed up and ended up having to do the last bit of this a few days after finally getting those shoes done. But as I mentioned, I was just going to mention the products that I was going to be using. Oh, sorry, somebody coming in. But the products in particular that I ended up using for finishing out these shoes. Of course, we ended up cleaning them up first a bit with some vinegar-based cleaner that we have here at our shop to kind of treat the salt damages and all that buildup in there. And then, of course, we conditioned with the Saphir Meddaille D'Or Renovator. And then for the black, we used the black Pomadier cream. For the brown, the number 37 medium brown Pomadier. And then we finished off with the waxes. I ended up stealing my own medium brown to take home, and just had the black one here at the shop, and didn't end up grabbing another one from display, but you get the point. I ended up using this on the entire shoe here with the wax, and then the toes I just kind of touched up a little bit with the black and the neutral mirror gloss just to give it a little bit more of a shimmer. But anyways, that was the basic products that we ended up using on all that for you. So again, thank you for watching. I apologize, it's been kind of a hectic time of year for us, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Be more than happy to help however I can, give you pointers if you're trying to get into the shoe shining, or about builds and qualities on footwear as well. Allen Edmonds in general, they're one of our favorite shoes just because at that price point you can't beat a shoe like that. You know, there are shoes out there that are, you know, considered to be higher quality at a much higher cost. There are shoes that are much lower quality that are at the same cost or even lower cost too. But in general, the Allen Edmonds are definitely one of those shoes we highly recommend for anybody that's starting out in high quality footwear, or, you know, even somebody who's fairly familiar with them. They know what the build is on an Allen Edmonds. They can last for many, many years with proper care and maintenance. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and hit that notification bell icon if you want to see more. If you've enjoyed this video, if it was informative for you or just relaxing. I guess to some of you it's fairly relaxing. Don't forget to hit the notification bell icon to check out our other videos that will be coming on in the future. Don't know what I have coming for the future, but you never know. Might be something interesting and you might like it. Anyways, we'll see you next time, and have a great one then.